All right, everybody, what is going on? Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Hope you guys are doing well. And you guys know what Wednesday is all about on this channel. I'm trying to do at least a mock draft every week on Wednesday. So today we are going to be getting to Seattle Seahawks mock draft 8.0. So as we get closer to the draft, I might be doing more than one a week, but for now, one a week is fine. We're not even to free agency yet. In many ways, we need to see what free agency holds for us before we really know what to expect in the draft. But going to go ahead with another one here. Again, my objective is still to kind of explore the space and see how many different scenarios I can come up with. I'm pretty happy with this one, though. This is going to be one where I know that some people are going to have questions about positional value, but when you have the 32nd overall pick, I think you need to be very open-minded. All right, everybody, before we go any further into this video, I want to take a minute to tell you guys about the Sleeper app and some new functionality they've recently rolled out, Team Picks. With Team Picks, you can pick winners in all kinds of sporting events. Right now, we have NBA basketball, college basketball, NHL hockey is going on, baseball's going to start in a little more than a month, and of course, you have futures in the NFL, even though the games in the NFL are over. Right now, if you look to my left here, you can actually see you can bet on next year's Super Bowl winner. They've got the Seahawks leading the way in those odds, by the way, at 12%. How does that make you feel as a Seahawks fan? But you can bet on MVP, you can bet on draft picks, you can bet on player destinations, all kinds of fun stuff, even though the season is over. So that is Team Picks over on Sleeper. A lot of fun stuff you can do. Real quick before we jump in here, I do know that John Schneider made some comments at the Combine yesterday. He didn't really say anything that I thought was illuminating. He spoke about how he wants to bring back all the Seahawks free agents, and for the most part, I think GMs or coaches or who's ever in charge, they kind of say that a lot, like every year, and it ultimately doesn't really matter. Like I remember Pete Carroll saying that after 2021, and then we brought very few players back. So I don't really think that means anything. I would not read into that. And I know he said that the fact that Jody Allen is selling the team and the Seahawks are going through a sale process this offseason isn't going to affect the team in any appreciable way. He doesn't know when they're going to be sold, which to me, I mean, what's he going to say? What else is he going to say? So I don't really have anything to say about that. So I'm not really going to make a video about those comments. Just going to let that one go. Okay, mock draft 8.0. Let's get into it, baby. First round, I'm going with Dylan Thieneman, the safety from the Oregon Ducks. And I don't know how people are going to feel about the idea of taking a safety in the first round, but again, I want to remind people it's the last pick in the first round, and the team is probably going to need a safety. Kobe Bryant is a free agent. I doubt he comes back. And Tai Okada, while I'm sure he will be back because he'll be very easy to retain, it could only be a 1-year deal because he's exclusive rights, and then next year maybe he's restricted, maybe he's I think he'll be restricted, but it couldn't be a not long-term scenario with Okada, and Julian Love may not be around here much longer either. Like, Julian Love could have 1 year left, and because of some decisions made during this last season, we don't really have anything in the way of depth behind Okada and Love, assuming Kobe Bryant leaves, other than maybe Nicky Manwari, because guys like Jarek Reed aren't here, and excuse me, Jarek Reed aren't here anymore. So Dylan Thieneman kind of brings everything to the table as a safety in terms of versatility. He's a guy who can play single high. He's a guy who can play two high safety deep down the field. He can play in the box. He's an aggressive run defender. He can do some nickel corner stuff, although not as much as a lot of other safeties. Like the Toledo guy, I think lines up in the nickel a lot more than Thieneman, but we don't really need a safety that's going to give us a ton of reps in the slot right now because of the setup of the team with Eman Wari. So Thieneman, I think, is a good fit for what this team needs right now. And I think that maybe he wouldn't play a lot as a rookie, although don't sleep on it. That's kind of the same thing I thought about Eman Wari, and he ended up playing pretty much every snap by the end of the season. So sooner rather than later, Thieneman would become a very important part of this team. There are a couple things he needs to work on, like his sometimes it seems like the angles he takes to the running back aren't the best, but these are things that can be fixed. And he brings so much good stuff to the table. I think he would be really nice in this defense, and I think that he would fill a need that will be coming, even if it's not necessarily here for 2026. And don't sleep on it, by the way. Like Ty Okada was good last year, but we may find the holes in his game a little bit more prevalent if he's a 17 game starter for us. And like I said, we are one injury away from being kind of destitute at that safety spot. So Thieneman is going to be my first round pick. And that goes into our second round pick here, where I go with Derek Moore, edge rusher from the Michigan Wolverines. Really, really good scheme fit. I see Derek Moore as one of the few edge rushers beyond the first round who has a chance to be an every down player. There are a lot of edge rushers who you're going to be able to get in the second round or maybe even third round, but a lot of them to me are like pure pass rushers. And even earlier than that, even some guys in like the early second or maybe even late first, like R. Thomas Mason, I look at them and I see one-dimensional football. Derek Moore is, to me, a guy who could be an every down player. He's got the size. He's really good at converting speed to power. He's probably never going to be like an elite pass rusher, but in a defense like this, where everybody needs to be good against the run so they can stay in nickel and still stop the run, I think Derek Moore could be a great fit. And I think that he could, you're thinking about replacing Demarcus Lawrence in the long term. Derek Moore is somebody who has a chance to do that. Now, again, I would not expect an edge rusher to be overly effective as a rookie. You rarely see an edge rusher be super effective as a rookie, but I could see Derek Moore being part of a rotation and being allowed to play on some early downs and getting the job done. So I like that fit. I think that's something that would make a lot of good sense. And if the Seahawks come away with Derek Moore at pick 62, my sense is that that would be a really, really good fit of player to scheme and player to need and all that. All right, third round, we are going with Mike Washington Jr., a running back from Arkansas. So Mike Washington Jr. got some speed, got an underrated amount of power. He's got some degree of elusiveness. He can make cuts. He should be pretty good in a zone scheme, in my estimation. I think there's a lot to like with his ability with the ball in his hands as a running back. I think that there's a good amount of versatility here. I think he can do a little bit of power stuff as well as the kind of every down stuff. But the main issue with Mike Washington is third down, passing downs. He's not a very good pass catcher. I don't think he's going to offer a lot there. And as of right now, he's not a good blocker. So you've got some work to do if you want Mike Washington to become like an every down back. But I think he can be an early down back. I think he can be part of a rotation that is effective in the backfield. I think that he has an opportunity to be part of maybe a 1-2 punch with somebody else in a Shanahan scheme. Few different options there. But I imagine Mike Washington's going to be pretty good as a rookie. I think you can lean on him for good production, and then you bring in another guy who you are kind of liking maybe like a Tyler Algier, and you can piece it together if you have to. Okay, so those are my top three picks. Those are obviously your three main guys. I think you're getting pretty good mileage out of those three picks. My final pick, and obviously this is the sixth round, so it's a ways off, but Damani Jackson, cornerback from Alabama. I like his size. I like the physicality he plays with. I think that he can learn how to play in zone. I know he's mostly a press guy right now, press man, but I think he can pick up zone a little bit. And at the very least, I think you're getting a good special teamer, and in the sixth round, that should be okay. So Damani Jackson, I think, is in the sixth round, you're doing very well if you can get a guy like him. That's a guy who I think actually has a little bit of upside to maybe become more than just a depth piece. And with his size and with his physicality, could start on the outside in the NFL one day. I don't want to promise anything, of course, because he is a sixth round prospect for a reason, but there is something interesting with Damani. All right. So that's going to do it for Mock Draft 8.0. Let me know what you guys think. It's certainly an appealing way to address the needs of this team in my estimation, and yet it's one of my favorite mocks I've done so far, honestly. And I know that sounds a little bit weird because usually I'm not a big fan of drafting a safety in the first round unless he's a complete freak. But to me, in this draft, if you can come away with this, because it isn't a great draft, like I've said many times, you're doing very well for yourself. All right, everyone have a good rest of your day. Go Hawks. See you guys soon.